Whether it's bad planning, bad luck, bad timing, or bad inventions, well-intentioned bad decisions have plagued history for thousands of years. Welcome to Historic Hindsight. Hello and welcome to Historic Hindsight. Today we have another bio episode for you today, and we are going to take a look back at Leonardo da Vinci. You want to tell me his full name there, Tommy? I see it at the top of this page.
Yeah. His full name was Leonardo di Piero da Vinci. And so one of the big misnomers that we have nowadays with him is back in the Renaissance, your last name was kind of basically where you were from. So when we run around talking about, Da Vinci, we probably shouldn't do that, as there was a shit ton of Da Vincis.
Da Vinci means like from
from Vinci, from the province, but since everybody does it, and I'm lazy, and I'm not going to say his whole damn name.
Well, okay, name three more people that are famous from Da Vinci.
Exactly.
You can't, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't,
he is Da Vinci. He's that whole province.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure there's nobody that's ever lived in that province who can ever touch him. There's no way. It doesn't matter who comes out of there. So he was a what's called an Italian polymath, which is an individual that has knowledge on many subjects, crossing science, art, history. Basically, he's just a badass.
A liberal arts man.
Yeah, to the nth degree. A lot more than what we went to at Hanover. No, he qualifies a little bit better than we do.
No, I think we're on par.
No, okay, yeah, sure. So Da Vinci was born on the 14th or 15th. We're not entirely sure. There's a little bit of discrepancy on which day he was born. But he was born on the 14th or 15th of April, 1452, in Vinci, which is a republic of Florence, which is modern-day Italy. He was born out of wedlock, which was pretty common to that.
Yeah, I mean, lots of people were.
That time frame. His dad was Piero da Vinci, which was a wealthy legal notary, which blows my mind that you can be wealthy by being a notary today, because it just seems like in the modern context, notaries are nothing more than like that nosy neighbor that wants to have a special title.
It's like bankers have to be notaries. Like, people just have to be notaries now. It's not something that you did to become wealthy.
And you're not getting any money off of it.
But back then, nobody knew what... I don't know. It seems like nobody knew what money was back then. So everyone was just like, oh, well, yeah, I do this thing. You have to pay me for it. They're like, wait, what? No, it's fine. You just have to do it. And then people just did it.
It actually kind of reminds me, so in our Revolutionary War, getting off subject, but in our Revolutionary War, part of the issue that we had a problem with was what's called a tax stamp by the British, where they would, any legal document had to be taxed, and it was like a 10 pence for that stamp,
right?
But they all had to be stamped,
so
it was a stamp tax.
Yeah.
And this probably the same thing. It's like, hey, look, you want a legal document?
That's what notaries
I've got to notarize it. But nowadays it's like $2 and nobody gives a shit, and half the time it's free if you go to your local bank.
Yeah,
who cares?
Banks will do it.
Yeah. Like I said, he was born out of wedlock. His mother was a peasant woman, we believe to be Caterina del Vaca. And this was all during the golden age for bastards, is what it's called. So basically, at this point in time in history, in the Renaissance, like, it wasn't a big deal to be a bastard.
Right.
It was actually kind of the best time to be a bastard was during the Renaissance, because people just didn't care.
This, of course, came after the Stone Age and the Bronze Age of bastards.
Exactly. I mean, if you were...
it was still hundreds of years before we would see the old, dirty bastard age.
Yeah, which 1950s.
Yeah.
So as a bastard, he was not required to follow in his father's line of work, which actually enables him to pursue his own interests.
Okay, yeah. Why does being a bastard seem so much better than not being a bastard in this time?
Well, that's
all
one
the bastards just get to go around and do whatever they want.
Exactly. They can because normally if your dad was a carpenter, or in this case a legal notary, he would have had to have gone into college to become a legal notary, and that's what he would have done, and that's it. That's your family business.
Take over the family business, but now, since dad hooked up with some concubine somewhere or something, he gets to do whatever he wants.
Yep, pretty much.
It's amazing.
So he wasn't forced to go to school by his father, and he was not actually formally educated. So most of what he did was actually self-taught, or taught through life experiences, which good luck trying to do that nowadays.
Right.
You can't even get a management job at McDonald's without having a bachelor's degree. So
I mean, the equivalent would be like an apprenticeship type thing, but it sounds like he just floated around and for like a couple weeks, like, I want to learn about this, and hung out with people who knew about it, learned about it, and then
we're going to learn that Da Vinci, if you put Da Vinci in modern times, like his level of procrastination would meet any college student, but I don't think he would have ever actually gotten any work done in modern society because I think his ADHD would have just taken over to too many different things. Because that was a problem through his whole life, was just too many different projects that he'd like to have interest in.
Well, we would have medicated him and put him on an assembly line job.
Yeah, most likely, yeah, we would have. But because of his father's status as a legal notary and in a high society, he did get the opportunity to land apprenticeships throughout multiple sections of high society in Florence, which is good. So again, benefit of being a bastard, like in this time, you're not looked down upon in society, so you still can get your dad's reputation, but you're not required to do what your dad wants you to do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be cool to be a bastard if you were the bastard of a rich man.
Yeah, being my bastard would suck.
Yeah, because I mean, he has the money to go around and do all this,
stuff,
philandering or whatever.
Yeah, he was baptized at grandeur because obviously at this time everybody's Roman Catholic, especially in Italy.
Oh yeah,
everybody's Roman Catholic. He had 10 godparents present at his baptism.
Who needs 10 godparents?
I have 2 godparents being Catholic, but I couldn't tell you their names.
10?
But yeah, ridiculous.
Was life expectancy just so low?
They're like, I think they needed extra backups.
If 8 of your godparents die, you still have 2 left to help you live the life of God.
If your dad dies, 8 godparents die, you're still okay.
You are set.
You're not an orphan. He did get some informal education in the Latin, math, arts, geometry, that kind of stuff. Again, through his father's connections. He did spend a few years in Hamlet of Ancello with his mother, and then he would move in with his father, and then actually later with one of his grandfathers. So most of his life was spent being raised by relatives as opposed to his biological parents. His early life is kind of speculation. There's not a lot of well-written documentation on Da Vinci's early life because, well, he wasn't really doing anything, so nobody really gave a shit. Yeah. He was said to have painted shields that were inspired by Medusa's head. This shield would then later be sold to a Florentine art dealer for 100 ducats.
Which is?
I have no idea. I'm assuming it was a decent enough amount for painting a shield. Enough that he started to get some recognition.
Yeah, I suppose.
In the mid-1460s, at the age of 17, Da Vinci would apprentice under Verrocchio, was one of the leading Florentine painters and sculptors. So he, right off the bat at 17, given his skill at painting the shield, got him into this. So he was underling for an art.
He was recognized pretty early on for his artistry and ability.
Yeah, and was right off the bat given an apprenticeship.
Because he spent his life
doing whatever he
wanted,
around,
not going to school, and just learning things he wanted to learn and playing.
And doing whatever it was that he wanted to do at the time.
Nice.
Yeah. It must be. He would collaborate with Verrocchio on his baptism of Christ, and by 1472, at the age of 20, Leonardo was granted the master status in the Guild of St. Luke, which is a guild of artists and doctors. What? How the hell is that related? I don't know. But there was a guild of artists and doctors in Florentine, and at the age of 20, he was granted the status of guild master at St. Luke.
I guess to be a doctor, you had to be a creative person because you didn't actually know any medical science. So it was just like, oh, you got ghosts in your blood. Do some cocaine.
Yeah, I guess. Well, and the funny thing is, like, a lot of his later works are, there's a lot of, like, biology in his later paintings. Yeah, and he does spend a lot of time. Yeah, he does spend a lot of time, like, dissecting human corpses.
He got pretty into anatomy for a while.
Yeah, he sure does. So maybe, I guess they were related. It seems odd nowadays. Like, you're not going to go to the New York School of Art and find a doctor.
To get your medical degree.
No,
yeah.
Not anymore.
To do your pre-med.
No. So 1473 is his first known work of art that's using pen and ink. And it's a drawing of the Arno Valley. And in 1476, Da Vinci, when he was 22, actually gets caught up in his first big scandal. And he's accused with several other young men of sodomy, and he's brought up on charges, and the punishment could be execution. He does get acquitted for this, but it puts a bad taste in his mouth, and he spends 2 years in hiding, and that's why there's like this big gap between 1476 and his next real known work of art.
A bad taste in his mouth, so to speak.
So to speak, yes. Now, there's speculation later in his life about him being closeted homosexual. Like, we look back at his history, this is one of the key points where most people decide that, like, he was a closeted homosexual.
Yeah.
He has no known, descendants. He never got married. In his journals, he talks about the idea of sex with a woman disgusting him, which that could just be the Catholic Church's influence on him as well.
I mean, yeah, the repressed sexuality in general with the Catholic churches can really do some damage.
Do some damage, yeah. It's not known that he had ever had any sexual partners or lovers, although when he does
Except
die,
for
well, he was acquitted.
Partners.
He was acquitted of this, so I mean,
okay, yeah.
If the glove doesn't fit, Johnny,
right,
you must acquit. But he did leave all of his personal belongings when he died to one of his apprentices, who he described as a lovely, beautiful chap. So I mean,
yeah, right. So
he probably swung for that team. So in his professional life, Da Vinci would arrive back in Florence and receive his first commission in January of 1478. And it would be a commission to paint an altarpiece for the chapel of St. Bernard, with his second commission coming like almost immediately after in 1481 for the monks of San Donato.
3 years.
Well, 3 years.
That's to paint an altarpiece?
Yeah, the guys. Okay, so
how long does it take to paint an altarpiece?
So here's the kicker about Da Vinci.
How long did it take the Sistine Chapel to be painted?
Quite a bit. Yeah,
I mean,
we'll get. We'll get there.
This is an altarpiece. Good God.
Okay, so here's the thing about Da Vinci. He's got a short attention span, and he spends most of his time like on other projects. And what his commission works, he did for money, and he didn't have a lot of passion or excitement about.
Yeah, I can hear that.
So he'd draw it out, and then he'd also do it intentionally. Like if they didn't give him a specific deadline, like you have to have it done by this time, he would intentionally draw it out to get more money.
Right. Yeah,
it was to pay his bills.
They're funding him while he's doing all this.
It's the construction on I-70. Why has it taken 30 years?
What's always shocking is that when they give him these little bonuses for finishing early, they always finish early.
It's weird. So if they would have just given him a bonus,
that's all they really need. They could have had that thing done in like 3 months.
But Johnny, so you're making fun because it's 3 years later. He's got these two commissions, one in 1478, one in 1481, and we're making fun of like how long does it take? Well, he never actually finished those commissions.
Of course he didn't, but he still got.
So he actually winds up.
I blame his childhood. If he would have had a little more structure and been forced to go to school,
like maybe he would have
finishing these projects.
Buckled down and finished them.
He wouldn't have had the skills to do them, but he would have been able to finish them poorly.
Yeah. Well, instead, what he does is he goes and he works for the Duke of Milan, which is Ludovico Forza. I'm not Italian. I'm gonna butcher these names all day long. Sorry, bear with me, but.
Sforza. If you want to try to pronounce that yourself.
I'm pretty sure it's Forza, but again, I don't know. And he works for him to make a silver stringed instrument out of a horse head in 1482. So not only does he leave these commissioned pieces, he goes and works for the Duke and makes him a stringed instrument out of a horse head.
How are you going to even do a horse head?
I don't know, Johnny.
I guess maybe you could go from like the crown down to the nose with some
hollow
strings.
Cavity, maybe. I don't know.
It'll be like a little ukulele horse head or something, or a little.
It could be, but
harp.
And it was made out of silver too, which I'm not entirely sure. I mean,
so it wasn't using a horse.
No, it was using a
horse head.
Yeah. That's how I read it. Using a horse head, using silver and a horse head, created a stringed instrument.
Horse head.
Yeah.
With strings. I wonder how it sounded.
I don't know.
The acoustics of the inside of a horse head might be.
Unfortunately, it is not surviving, so we don't know. But he does. He likes using silver with animals, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But it's a theme. It's a theme of his. So from 1482 to 1499, he works in Milan, and it was at this time that he was commissioned to paint the Last Supper. So probably arguably one of his most famous paintings is commissioned at this time, and not finished,
right? But
commissioned during this time period.
This picture cracks me up because it reminds me of when I did this. I had just done an event, a photography event, and it's like when the photographer goes to a wedding reception and gathers everybody to take a picture. You know, you have to go around, you have to take pictures of everybody at all the tables, so you get everybody there.
Yeah.
It's like you get everybody, you're like, all right, everybody crowd around to this side of the table, and everybody get on that one side, and it always just looks awful because there's a table with food
and there's always a kid that's like fucking around, not doing what he's supposed to be doing. Yeah.
It's the worst. So I mean, really bad composition, but that's all right.
So you're not a fan of the Last Supper. You're going to argue, yeah. So like it's hell with what all the artists have said for all these centuries.
It's a little overrated.
It's a crap piece.
But to be fair, I think most things from the Renaissance are a little overrated.
I mean, they just look like, you know, I mean, they're really good pictures of people.
They're fine.
But
have you seen some of the hyper-realist stuff people are doing these days?
Well, yeah.
Like 11-year-olds in Africa with no access to anything are able to do these
Johnny, it's because that's the only way they're able to eat. Is if they make this art.
He paints a couple people behind a table, and all of a sudden we remember him forever. Right.
Well, to be fair, we'll get to other reasons why he's remembered, but okay. Last Supper, not Johnny's favorite. We got it. So also
was it his great work on the Mona Lisa? Which piece of trash.
Which
it's
took
tiny.
Him.
It's like an 8x10 or
yeah,
something.
No, it is really disappointing when you actually go to the Louvre, and if you've not been there, I have. I've seen it in real life. First off, I couldn't get within 100 yards of the damn thing because there were so many people in front of me trying to see it.
Well,
and it's
this
little.
They have it
it's blockaded
with
off.
Another 10 to 15 feet or something.
It's a small.
It's small.
And
I was thinking it was going to be like 8 feet by 12 feet or something.
No,
and that's why it was impressive.
And it took him forever to finish, and he actually didn't ever even technically finish that. It was finished by his studio.
Anyway, we got you off course.
We're off course. We'll be back here. So also during this period that he committed the worst painting ever, the Last Supper.
Overrated.
So also during this period where he was commissioned to sculpt or paint the overrated Last Supper, he was also commissioned to sculpt a huge horse statue, but at the last minute the brass was used to forge a cannon instead for the city defenses, which is probably a better...
You know he was relieved.
I'm sure.
You know he's like, God damn, he probably got half up front, and then they're like, all right, so here we have to do this, and he got all this brass, and he's like, all right, well, fuck, now I gotta actually start making this horse. And then my line gets invaded, and
and
then all of a sudden
we need this brass
like,
for
hey,
cannon.
You don't have to do this anymore. We need all that brass. He's like, oh, thank fuck.
Although
I wasn't going to do it anyway.
I guess he'd gotten a model of it. Well, he did get a model of the sculpture done, and he goes back to this because there's multiple times he does try to make this sculpture later in life, but it never really comes to fulfillment. But so I don't know. Maybe he really wanted. Maybe like ponies, Johnny. I don't know. He did like.
I guess he worked with a horse head before. Maybe he developed some sort of kinship with horses as a rule, and
entirely possible. A little known fact: he was an animal lover.
Hey, going back, how do you think he picked the horse whose head he was going to use to make that instrument?
Oh man, I don't know. Do you think it maybe he just had a favorite horse that died,
ahead of time, or do you go to like a horse graveyard? They weren't making glue back then, right? You can't just go to a glue factory and get a horse head back then.
There had to have been some kind of glue at some point in time.
That seems like it's more recent, but
who knows? I don't know. Maybe he went into a field of horses and was like, "That one has a pretty nice head. Lob it off."
Look at the skull on that thing.
Although, given the fact that he is an animal lover, I'm gonna hazard a bet that he probably didn't kill it outright for the head. But then again, I'm not judging you.
Money talks.
Money most definitely does talk. So after the city of Milan falls, the emperor.
So wait, they took all this brass to sculpt or to make a cannon, and then it didn't even.
Yeah, the city.
Lost?
The city. Yeah.
So now they lost, and they don't have a horse statue.
Yeah, they really got boned in this one.
Jesus, double whammy.
So again, Forza, when he's overthrown in 1495 during the Second Italian War, because at this period in time in Italy, Jesus Christ, like the power vacuum
was about 1500 years before.
Yeah, this one, whatever. The power vacuum of Rome falling and what happens in Italy afterwards is just Jesus Christ.
Well, when you're that big of an empire and you crumble, all these little pieces and bits all over the place, and like, hey, I want to be in power now.
It's just like a permanent civil war in Italy, or what is modern day Italy, for like forever
Yeah.
after Rome falls. It's ridiculous. So Da Vinci actually will flee Milan, and he goes back to Venice, where he becomes a military architect and engineer. So I don't know if he had anything to do with the cannon being built instead of the horse statue.
Yeah.
But he does, like, people are like, hey, look, this guy knows what he's doing with city defenses, because clearly he helped with Milan. We'll put him in charge of Venice. But while he's over here in Venice in 1499, he does get his largest contract size-wise for an art project, which is a 20-foot statue of the Duke's father on horseback. But unfortunately, when the French invade, they destroy it. So
he built it?
Yeah, it gets built, and then
it.
and then
the French come in and ruin it.
Yeah, the French do their Frenchy thing.
Man, why are people in wars always destroying statues and shit?
Well, and there's
it's an attack on the culture, and you want to go ahead and get rid of it. But come on, man.
Well, and there's a theory that the Sphinx in Egypt the nose was shot off by Napoleon. So fuck the French.
Yeah.
Damn, they're assholes. Stop fucking with shit.
Well, they did.
Yeah. They built this big wall that they thought would stop Hitler, and it worked out so well for him.
Beautifully. Yep.
Okay. Anyways, back to the Renaissance. So Da Vinci does devise some plans and methods to defend, Venice from naval attacks, and from invasion and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And during this time period, his drawings for the first ever known tank get devised, which is basically, think of like a corn silo, like the top, how it's like pointed. It's that with cannons all the way around it, and with iron plated wood.
Okay. And this is stuff that they were able to build.
That we don't know if that was ever built, but it was designed. It does have his drawings on it.
I mean, yeah, because otherwise they brought in this guy to do a bunch of doodles, to draw a bunch of shit that nobody can actually make or use. It's like, hey, let's give this 15-year-old boy the freedom to tell our military what to build, and they're like, oh yeah, here's what we're gonna do.
He's in his 20s, Johnny, and that's like an old man.
We're gonna take these underwater ships that can also go into outer space with lasers on them, and they can track everything. And it's like, yeah, that's a great idea. It doesn't work.
He does have drawings for subs, but I don't think there was laser space. But he does get some robots built. We'll get to that. Anyways, well, sort of robots. They're like,
I think
mechanically operated, like.
This is just this is an example of the military wasting their funds again. Is basically what this is.
Well, if it happens nowadays, I guarantee it happened in the past, and this shit. But he does. Okay, so when he leaves Venice, Da Vinci becomes a military engineer in 1502 of the city of Cesena, under Cesare Borgia.
That's where the planes were developed, right? In Cesena?
Yeah, exactly. The Cessna planes totally came from right here. And he does, at this point, he draws, he draws up maps of the fortress and the town.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And shows how, he does use these drawings to show how you can, better to defend the town. Like, he basically shows the weak points, where the fortress needs to be, strengthened.
Guys, that big hole in the back over here, might want to do something about that.
But because he draws these maps, Johnny, because he's able to draw them, the city's like, you're now the chief military engineer and architect. He doesn't actually build anything. He just draws some fucking maps of the city.
Yeah, that's what architects do, though, to be fair.
I was trying to paint Da Vinci up higher than what he was, and I guess at the end, the guy was a really good drawer, and that was about it.
Yeah, and he had imagination.
God, he had such a great imagination.
That's it. And we don't even know if he was a good drawer.
Screw it, the episode's over now.
Maybe he was. He could have been really bad at drawing maps, just nobody else thought to draw one. And they're like, oh, well, that must be what it looks like. I don't know, this guy's pretty smart. Everybody keeps paying him to do stuff.
It is 1502.
It's like that famous for being famous thing. It's like, oh, everybody else has been hiring you to do these jobs and to do this, so you must be great, so I'm going to go ahead and do it.
And I don't know why, because he's not finishing shit. Like, in this time period, we've gone from when he was born in 1452. So from 1452 to 1502, these are the things that we've known he's done so far. He painted a Medusa-inspired shield.
Yep. Nailed that.
Nailed it. Yeah, he finished that one. That
only
one's
thing
finished.
worthwhile so far.
And he did finish a 20-foot statue of the Duke's father.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer.
Which
that's
the French did destroy. But outside of that, those are the only two things at this point that he's actually finished. And he drew some drawings for some military defenses.
He didn't finish that horse head?
Oh no, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I
forgot.
Know.
Yeah,
we don't know.
We assume indicates that he finished it, but yeah, I guess it doesn't survive, so we don't know for sure.
We don't know what it looks like, even if it did.
Yeah.
See, I told you, overrated.
You know what? You're convincing me, Johnny. I might agree with you that this guy's overrated.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll keep going.
We're halfway through.
So he does design and he does build a dam for the city to ensure year-round supply of water. So the guy, we got to win.
All right.
We got a water supply, gives you a year-long supply.
That's the type of thing an architect and engineer should do.
And he did it. He did it. Okay. So in 1503, he decides, I'm done with this military engineering stuff. Oh, but he also draws up stuff for helicopters and things to get over walls. And,
right.
And he draws up all these really awesome, like new catapults and things to literally lob people over a wall without injury.
That's pretty cool. I just designed a teleportation device that can take
us
from here to Mars. Yeah, on paper.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it'll take us here to Mars.
Awesome.
It's brilliant. I mean, we can just send food there too, and it'll automatically plant it for us.
Nice.
So, somebody want to hire me?
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'll show you the drawings.
I'm excited. So 1503, he returns to Florence, and he begins work on the Mona Lisa. A painting that, again, I remind everybody, he never actually winds up finishing.
And even if he did, it's not that good of a painting.
It is kind of small. It's a postage stamp. So in 1504, he becomes part of a committee to determine whether Michelangelo's statue of David, where it should be placed. So, a fun little side fact: they hate each other. Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, they don't have the best relationship. They're competing artists.
Well, that's
Michelangelo actually does his fucking job and gets shit done.
Well, I thought it was because Michelangelo was like the party one that always wanted to eat pizza, and Leonardo was supposed to be the serious leader, and Michelangelo kept throwing wrenches into their plans.
Yeah, well, it could be that. I thought it was or Raphael that always threw the. No, he was always the angry asshole. Raphael.
Well, he was a jerk. Michelangelo was the crazy cowabunga party one.
Gotcha.
Leonardo was a stoic, serious leader, and Donatello was the brains.
Well, so in any case, he gets to decide where Michelangelo's, statue of David gets placed, right in the bottom of the channel.
Yeah, F that guy.
Screw it. That's not even. It's missing its arms. Screw that guy.
Stick it by that van down by the river.
So, they do spend a lot of their free time poking fun at each other's works, and
it's just petty artists.
It's petty. It's whatever it is today. It's petty artists.
So instead of hiring me to do this statue or whatever, you're gonna hire me to say where it should be placed and hire somebody else to do it? F you, buddy.
Yeah, that's basically
that's
what happens. Yeah,
I can do a statue. Look, I almost finished that one back then. Remember?
And the French destroyed the one I did finish. It's not my fault.
15 years ago, I started a statue. I could have done this. You would have had it in 30 years.
In 1504, he writes his Codex of Lanicus, which is his detailed journal of all of his works on art, math, military engineering, flight, musical instruments, etc. It's a 1,119-page notebook detailing all of his ideas.
Yeah, tighten it up a little bit, pal. I don't have time for that. Like, come on.
This is the foremost thinker. What society argues is probably the smartest man that's ever been alive. Johnny just said, "Look, I don't have time for your 1,000-page notebook. Just tighten that shit up. Wrap it up."
You know, if you're so smart, you should be able to explain these things a little bit easier to me.
Fair,
right?
Fair point. So we'll start now with looking into Da Vinci's later life and ultimately his death.
So now he's matured.
He's matured. Yeah,
has learned how to finish a project.
He'll get a couple.
Maybe
he'll get some done here and there. In 1512, he was working on plans for another horse monument. Again, this guy has got something about horses, but this was unfortunately prevented by the invasion of Swiss, Spanish, and Venetian forces that drove the French from Milan. So basically, like, look, I really like that horse sculpture. I
Yeah.
want to build another one.
Right.
You fuckers in France destroyed it. So now I'll go ahead and build you one. That's French that you'll like, but
Okay.
it gets interrupted by the Swiss, Spanish, and Venetian invasion.
God, why? What are the Swiss doing in here? I thought they were neutral.
Well,
Is that a little more modern?
I think it's a little bit more modern, yeah. And so, unfortunately, none of any of the sculptures that Da Vinci ever did survive.
So
And most of them
we
get
don't-
destroyed through like warfare.
So he's known as a great sculptor,
But we have no proof of
and
it.
we have none of his sculptures.
None survive.
What a racket! Like,
I mean, listen, people. I am like Bob Ross has
Yeah.
nothing on my wet on wet canvas skills.
right? Yeah,
Unfortunately,
all of them.
every time I get them finished,
Yeah.
like the house burns down, they get stolen and
Yeah.
destroyed. I mean,
need to stop leaving them out in the rain.
I need
think
to
is-
definitely
is
stop
what
leaving
your
them out in the
big
rain.
issue is.
Yeah. So from
But don't worry, we'll remember you for that for hundreds of years.
yes, even though there's no proof that I ever did any of them. So from 1513 to 1516, he spends much of his time living in the Belvedere courtyard and the Apostolic Palace.
Close.
Whatever. he lives under basically the Catholic Church.
Apostolic.
Apostolic? Yeah, that's it. Apostolic. There we go. We got it.
Woo!
Woo! I can speak. He lives there, which is also where Michelangelo and Raphael are both active. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Yeah,
reference.
there we go.
Yeah, there.
What's Donatello doing in all of this?
Fucking playing with sticks.
God, what a slacker!
Yeah, he was always the most annoying one on the damn show too.
What? He was the
Thought
okay.
no,
all right,
he
hold
thought he
up.
was so
We're
smart,
gonna
and that guy
fight,
did
Tom.
nothing. Nothing.
He was the brains of the operation. Andy
Yeah.
had the second best weapon with the bow staff.
The most. How is that better than swords?
I said second best.
Oh, okay.
The dual ninja swords are clearly the best.
Okay. I was about to say,
Nunchucks
if you
are some
argue,
garbage
well, yeah,
Hollywood
that's
thing that's not
made
even a
up.
real
Yeah.
weapon. And size, I don't know, they're kind of cool, but not nearly as
They're
cool
not
as
cool as
swords or
double
bow
katanas.
staff.
All right. Okay. So, but
They
so-
wouldn't have been katana. They would have been ninja swords because they were ninja turtles, not samurai turtles. But
damn it.
all right,
Whatever. All right. Fine. Anyways,
just little thing here.
little thing. Thanks, Johnny.
You're welcome.
So while he's living in the Apostolic Palace, he is given an allowance of 33 ducats a month.
Oh, that gives us a little insight
Hey, yeah.
to what.
So
his,
that 100 ducats
painting-
was pretty good. That's
Yeah,
like
so it's 3 months.
3 months salary.
Well, 3 months allowance.
Yeah. So basically, this guy's at this point in his life, Da Vinci's just living off of
Just
his fame.
basically his salary, I guess.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
just, oh yeah, you just have some money to spend. I don't know.
Yeah, so he's basically just living off of his fame of his projects that he was commissioned to do but didn't actually finish. And the Catholic Church like, we'll give you 33 ducats a month. Just, live here, stay here. We want to live off of your fame.
Okay. So what's he do with his 33 ducats a month?
He spends it wisely. He hoards quicksilver and has a
Oh,
pet
nice.
lizard and starts
Okay.
taking this quicksilver, melting it down, and putting a drop on each of the lizard scales. So
He's-
painstakingly
Armoring.
in silver
lizard.
his pet lizard, who survives this.
Well,
So he's got a
because
pet
they
lizard
shed their skin.
running around with silver plated armor.
So a dragon.
A badass dragon.
He has a armor plated dragon,
Yes. It's
which
during
I'm
this.
guessing is what he was pretending it was, because he's not just sitting there like, oh, it looks cool. Like it's his toy.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Like people didn't have pets because they loved them back then. It was entertainment. Like what the hell else do you have to do? He's not working.
He's definitely not working. No.
Not gonna go finish that statue over there. Not
Nope.
gonna finish that painting.
Uh,
Put lizard or silver on a lizard.
so it's at this time period that the Pope gives him a commission for an unknown piece of art. We don't know what it was, but we know the Pope did try to commission a piece of art from Da Vinci while he was there at the palace. But then the Pope immediately cancels it after he finds out that Da Vinci was going to use a new type of varnish. That is not Jesus-approved varnish.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to use it. You're not going to paint my painting for me.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that makes sense.
Ridiculous. Like, what the hell? Who gives a shit what varnish he uses? It's not
I
like
mean, the Pope does. That's
apparently.
why he canceled the. Did you not? You just said that.
I know. But it's stupid. It's stupid. Like, who gives a shit? Why would that matter?
Maybe it was a.
I can understand if you're like, oh well,
Yeah,
I'm going to
anything.
use wet on wet as opposed to like oil painting. Like, I can understand like if it's the style, but the
Yeah.
damn varnish, whatever.
No.
Well, anyways, he didn't like it.
People were weird back then.
And immediately after this is where Da Vinci becomes ill and suffers his first of multiple strokes. That does eventually lead to his death. So,
Yeah.
I feel you, buddy. Had my first stroke too. It's okay.
You're right up there with Da Vinci, Tommy.
Just have to have a few more and decorate my damn pet lizard, and I'm right there.
Yeah, you might want to start half-assing some art projects here and there.
Yeah. Well, this podcast.
There you go.
Well, I'll be.
You will be known forever as the greatest podcast voice in the history of mankind.
I'm dubious.
But all of these podcasts are going to get lost.
Yes, so. It's just lost and destroyed. But people, trust me, it was amazing.
It was so good.
So after his first stroke, he does start practicing botany in the gardens of the Vatican City, and he is commissioned to make plans for the Pope's drainage system in the Vatican City. So basically, make a better greenhouse. Yeah, and he becomes at this time. He also becomes big into dissecting cadavers without the Pope knowing, because that's a big no-no at this time period. He does.
Yeah, I mean that's frowned upon by everybody today too, unless you're a coroner and allowed to dissect dead people.
Yeah, which is an elected position where you don't have to have any medical experience to do that. But hey, whatever.
Wait.
Yeah, you didn't know the coroner is.
I knew it was
elected,
but like I guess
like
you
anybody
have to.
Yeah, no,
it's just most of the time people do.
Yeah, and that's also I think most like counties have it in their writ that like only the coroner can arrest a sitting sheriff too. It's really weird. We give the coroner some powers that we probably shouldn't to somebody who may or may not have any experience.
It's probably like all fake power though. It's probably checked somewhere.
If you're the sheriff with unlimited arsenal to the sheriff's stuff like tanks and shit that some sheriff's departments have, do you think some little nerdy medical guy coming up to you in a lab coat saying you're under arrest? Am I though?
No, I'm not.
Am I?
Yeah, cuff me. Go ahead.
So he becomes big into dissecting cadavers, and he does make a lot of detailed notes on the vocal cords, and he's hoping, again, this is without the Pope's knowledge, but he's hoping that by showing the Pope these studies, he can get back in his favor.
So by telling the Pope, hey, I have been desecrating all of these human bodies and learning about their insides.
But look what I learned about how we talk.
And figured out this science, he's hoping to gain the favor of the church.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell he was thinking.
Historically, that's gone really well for anybody who's tried to bring any amount of science to the churches.
And I'm pretty sure he just got killed right afterwards and hung for witchcraft or something like that. He doesn't. And spoiler alert, he does not get back in the Pope's favor like ever.
Yeah.
But it's through this time period with his dissectings and all that fun stuff that he learns about the human brain and anatomy, all that fun stuff, which develops into the Sistine Chapel and the fun irony. This is where I do give the guy credit, because he gets commissioned for that, paints it, which is supposed to be a mock-up of the human brain, as opposed to quote-unquote God. So he's basically saying the human brain is God.
Yeah.
Great slap to the Roman Catholic Church. I loved it. It was great. For that sense of irony, I'd give him a little...
Yeah.
He wins some credit back.
That's like Michelangelo did all the little babies on the thing, right? Was he the one that did that, or is that Leonardo's?
The Sistine Chapel with the guy up in the pointing in the thingy?
No. Somebody did something with a bunch of babies with their dicks out. in a church, and there's a meme.
Do we need to have a conversation about what your preacher did to you as a child?
No, it's a painting. It's like those little cupids or something. And like I think Michelangelo did it.
It probably.
It's like the church is like, hey, come paint to this church, where he's like, all right, but I'm gonna paint a bunch of babies with their dicks out. And then that's what he gave him, and they're like, "Thanks, we're gonna keep it up here forever."
Probably not. Like, let's go to a Catholic church and paint a bunch of babies with their dicks out, and haha, it's funny. Oh wait, no, it's not. It's actually creepy because they get off on that shit.
Because that you now you know why they never got rid of it. Why they're like, yup, keeping that.
For you listening at home, we don't really give a shit what that painting is or where it's at. We don't care, but you know what? I like it. I like it.
I'm curious if you want to send me the information on it.
Okay.
Just the name of it, not like weird shit. Don't be weird.
Do not send us, dear God. Do not send us.
We don't want baby dicks.
Baby dicks.
No.
So in 1515, King Francis I of France, in case you were confused, he recaptures Milan.
Okay.
So in 1516, he would enter, Leonardo da Vinci would enter King Francis's service because basically Leonardo da Vinci is just, hey, who's ever in charge, pay me, and I'll paint you some shit.
Not even mad about the horse statue you destroyed anymore.
Not anymore, I guess.
Totally fine.
He was given residence in the manor house, Close-Lu, or whatever that. Close-Luce? Close with, French or Italian, I don't know. Anyways, it's near the king's palace. So he gets set up in a manor house right next to the king's palace. So that the king and him are buddies.
Oh, this guy, what a cush life.
He's a rock star. It's basically like, God, who's a really good, not a really good actor, but an actor that won an Oscar, but then hasn't really done shit since, but had one good showing.
Nic Cage?
Did Nic Cage win an Oscar?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, it's like Nic Cage. He's
really bad, but keeps getting movies.
Yes, yeah. It's like he gets one or two okay movies, and then he's awful, but he keeps. Oh my God! Go home and watch the USS Indianapolis. It is the biggest pile of dog shit film. I made it 15 minutes into it with CGI. And this was recently made. It's not like it was made in 1983, so the CGI we can have an excuse for it.
Right.
No, this was made 2018 or 2017, and oh my God,
is it all CGI? Is that why it's bad?
It's just atrocious. It's just so bad. But okay, so we got Luke Cage, or Nic Cage here. So
that's your movie recommendation, the worst movie that you made 15 minutes into?
Yeah.
You'd like me to go home and watch it?
At least just the first 15 minutes. It's great.
I'll check it out.
Watch it. But again, so we've got that. We've got Da Vinci, who's living a cush life because he did one or two okay things, but it's basically fucked off the rest of the time, but is living off of his reputation. So yeah, that's what we got. So while this is going on, there is a parade where Da Vinci builds a mechanical lion that walks towards the king during the pageant, and its chest opens up when you hit it with a wand to reveal flowers. So
that's pretty dope.
They were so buddy that he built a robot that chest opened up, flowers came out. Again, so I'm thinking the king and him might have had something going on the side.
Tommy, that's a pretty big leap to take for the king who just let him
live in a house
next door to him, and then hired him to. Did he hire him, or did he just make it for him?
I think he just made it for him.
He just
made him this. Yeah, it was during a pageant, or a parade pageant. Yeah, he just made it. Do you have
information on how that worked? Was it? Oh, I mean, it's obviously it's not run by an engine, but did he have people in there to walk it, or was it more of a puppet, or?
From what I've read of it, it's like how a clock with springs works.
Gotcha.
So he does actually at the same time period.
It's like a wind-up toy.
Yeah.
Giant wind-up toy.
It's kind of like you would consider it a robot, but it's not a robot in the modern sense where there's computer and electronics that are controlling it. It's like springs and mechanical.
Steampunk.
Steampunk,
almost.
Exactly. Yes, and he has at the same time he has drawings that were he was going to put it for the king.
Yeah,
a mechanical knight that was supposed to lift its hat and march and all this kind of stuff and have human movements. And could actually even potentially be used for military application as a exoskeleton kind of thing. So
we're doing that today. Now we have exoskeletons for legs and strength. Have you seen any of that stuff?
Yeah, no,
it's wild. They have frames and people can lift up 1,000 pounds.
Well,
it's wild.
It comes from this, Johnny, because a scientist here.
You think if Da Vinci didn't make these drawings, you think nobody in history would have thought, hey, maybe if we put these robots on the outside of people? It did not come from this.
Well, no, okay, but
this was the first dude who imagined something like it, and probably not even that.
Follow my train of thought here. So when his notebook's discovered, and we'll get to this point later, and it's bought and blah 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 blah. There is a scientist in the early 2000s that create this robot off of his drawings, and it's perfectly balanced. It does what it says it's supposed to be doing, and then NASA steals it and then uses it for their moonwalker shit, like the spacewalking
Yeah,
robots.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the application's there. There's a direct link, Johnny.
Oh, I mean, okay.
Would it have existed without him?
Yes,
Sure, it probably would have.
absolutely.
But
1,000,000%. It
give the
would
guy
have.
credit. But to bring it
But
back.
why? Everybody is for nothing. Why do I have to give him credit too?
All right, fine. Bringing it around full circle here. And again, to go with the whole, he might have been stopping the French king here.
Right. Yeah.
He's paid 10,000 scudi for a pension by the French crown.
I'm sorry. How many ducats to a scudi?
I have no. Damn it, Johnny! I don't know.
we need to. I mean,
we probably should have done a little bit better research with that and gotten some values to this. It sounds like a lot. I'm betting it was probably more than what the 33 ducats he was getting a month from the church. I'm sure.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And he will die.
10,000 of them.
He does die at his manor here. Being buddies with the King of France on May 2nd, May 2nd, 1519, likely of a stroke. So the guy strokes out.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Next to his potential
stroking out
lover, king. Yeah. Although it's weird because he doesn't leave all of his belongings to the king.
It's a king.
Yeah,
What's he need the belongings for?
Maybe I don't know. Like, if you love the king well enough, maybe, I don't know.
I think the king was just a side piece. It was like a sugar daddy.
Yeah, probably.
He saw it as an opportunity. I can go live in a house next to a castle and do whatever I want with the king's money.
Yeah, sugar daddy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I gotcha. So some surviving art and inventions and ideas that he does have that's still around today. There is obviously the Mona Lisa that we talked about. He didn't technically finish it. There is the Last Supper, Peruvian Man, Lady with Ermine, Virgin of the Rocks, and then there's his last known surviving painting, and I use that in quotes, the Salvador Mundi. He probably didn't even paint, but it was sold for auction, and it's the only painting that's still in private hands. It was sold for auction on November 15th, 2017 for $450 million at Christie's auction to Prince Badir bin Abdullah.
Money well spent.
Money well spent, because we don't even know if it was actually his.
I guess money well laundered. Likely.
Yeah, money well laundered. This painting, so it was supposed to be a part of the Louvre in Abu Dhabi, but there's so much like skepticism around how much Leonardo da Vinci actually had to deal with it. There were some scholars who say he did the whole thing. Most scholars say he did part of it. And there is even some that says he had no hands in it at all.
Yeah.
Most likely it was actually Baltrifio, which was one of his underlings. That was one of his favorite underlings that probably did most of that painting itself. When it was discovered in the early 2000s, it was so in such shoddy repair that it's hard to tell. We know it was done in the time period.
Right.
We know it was done in his style. Whether or not he had it, he actually painted it or not.
Now that's a job I do have respect for. These art, the refurbishing people who go through the old art and clean it up and redo it. It just watching that process is astounding.
Yeah.
Have you seen
Yeah, and then they have to take the whole layers and everything else.
It's just wild. And then you get that one person who did it 10 years ago or whatever with Jesus painting, and she completely ruined it. You remember seeing that on there?
No.
You'd recognize the picture if you saw it.
So she fucked it up?
Oh, horribly.
Well, so I guess you probably shouldn't be taking on that job unless you actually know what the hell you're doing. And you know what? We screwed up. The Sistine Chapel was Michelangelo.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Damn it! And he is the angels with the dicks out.
Yeah.
God, I screwed up.
I thought that was a Sistine Chapel.
Damn it!
Told you I was a baby.
So what the hell did Leonardo da Vinci do that was worth a damn? God. Well, he does. So for fun, because he got so damn bored and sidetracked, he liked to draw. Take his time with the paintings and everything else. But he would put little secrets in there. And these little secrets.
Would he, or are people just saying that?
No, he does. Okay. Yeah, he definitely did. So in the Mona Lisa, in the background, there's a bridge, which is a bridge from his childhood, and in her eye is a date, and that date corresponds with when that bridge, collapsed. And then there are, when you X-ray it through levels, like he would basically, like the Mona Lisa has like 15 paintings or some shit like that underneath the final painting,
Right.
because he just basically started over and repainted,
most
painted,
of
started
them
over.
did, because canvases were not a dime a dozen at Michael's anymore. Like it was.
Yeah, and a lot of times he actually just did that for the shits and giggles of it. Like, look, I'm gonna draw an angel with a dick out and then paint over it.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. And so there are people that are going around, and there's that conspiracy theory movie and book series, Da Vinci Code. I know nothing about
Right,
it.
yeah,
I
I
know it's
haven't
a
seen it.
completely malarkey. I did see the adult film version, the DaVinci Load,
Oh, God.
and the only thing I remember from that was that the main character would go around and see people's pasts by grabbing their dicks. So she's just walking around, grabbing people's dicks, seeing what was on the past, and trying to unravel this great conspiracy of the Catholic Church.
What a weird connection to the past.
Which is supposed to be something about Jesus having kids and with Mary Magdalene or some shit like that, and it's all bullshit. But
are you saying that the Da Vinci Load is not?
No, I mean
accurate?
that was, I think, the Da Vinci Code.
Oh, you jumped back?
Yeah, I jumped back to
Okay.
the Da Vinci Code. The Da Vinci Load was some conspiracy murder mystery thing. I think, I don't
I feel
know.
like
Find
there's
out who
probably
killed
some.
Jesus.
I feel like there's probably some plot holes in it.
There were quite a few plot holes. Yeah, yeah. Hi-yo! Some of his other works that still do survive is the Lady with Ermine, the Virgin of the Rocks, the Codex of Lanica, which is one of his 72-page notebooks of doodles, which Bill Gates wound up buying for $30.8 million. So again,
Tax write-off.
money well spent. In his notebooks, he does conceptualize flying machines, parachutes. The first tank does conceptualize solar powered panels. The adding machine, which he actually does invent that. So
Like he made one?
he made an adding machine. Yeah,
Didn't just think about it?
no, he actually makes an adding
Hey,
machine.
boy, it'd be nice.
And he does actually invent the double hull. So, for boats,
For ships,
having two holes. Yeah, yeah. It's stronger for the military there. So, he did
in a
couple
way,
things.
he was responsible for the Titanic.
Yes. Yep.
In a way.
In a way. It's his fault.
In the same way he's responsible for exoskeletons in space.
Yes, exactly. He did also invent the automated bobbin winder and a machine for testing tensile strength. So,
All you sewers out there, thank Da Vinci.
He's got a bobbing winding
So you don't have to
thing.
wind your own bobbins anymore.
Yep. He was an animal rights activist. He does inspire paint by numbers, which I'm sure,
How?
I don't know.
He just did?
Yeah, inspired paint by numbers is what my research pulled
Because
up.
he was such a mediocre artist that he had to put numbers to remember what color to put places.
Probably. Yeah. And he also tended to like to write in reverse script because heaven forbid anybody find out what random useless doodles you have. So he writes it in reverse script, so you have to look into a mirror.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Historic Hindsight. Every week we take a look at some of the major events that took place during this week in a segment that we like to call This Week in History.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
All right, so Johnny, the first thing that we've got on this week in history is we've got the Saint Scholastica Day Riot, which happened on February 10th, 1355.
Yeah, that happened in America?
No, it happened in England, specifically in Oxford, England. And it began when two students from Oxford University were complaining at the local tavern of the quality of wine served to them.
Oh, God.
This tavern was the Swindlestock Tavern. So, first off, you're drinking wine at Swindlestock.
Couple of Oxford asshole college students.
Yep. So they began to quarrel with the tavern owner, and soon fists were thrown.
Okay.
Customers started joining in on both sides. Some siding with the tavern owner, going, "The wine's fine," and other probably Oxford students, "Fuck this wine!" And so a riot ensues inside the tavern.
I mean, we used to take like the boxed wine and just like take the bag out and just walk around with the bag like when we were in college. Like what is this complaining about the quality of the wine bullshit?
I don't get that in college, because in college we just drank Miller High Life and boxed wine, and we did not care.
Nope.
But these are Oxford
I was going to
students.
say, we also did not go to Oxford.
We did not go to Oxford.
We
These
went
are
to the
Oxford students.
Oxford of Indiana. Hanover.
God, so many pretentious people at Hanover actually thought their school
I
this
thought
is
that
an
whole
Ivy League.
I thought the whole Ivy of the Ivy League of the Midwest, or Ivy League of the liberal arts schools or whatever. I thought that was a joke.
Yeah,
and then
but no,
people were taking that seriously.
people,
they really thought that they were going to the Ivy League of D3 small liberal arts college schools
and random nowhere middle.
That's not a thing that exists.
Middle West USA. Yeah, no, it is not. So this brawl would go from the tavern out into the street. Soon local townfolk got involved again on both sides. And this fight would last 3 days, with the fight spreading all the way to the university, into the university halls and student quarters, which would eventually be raided and tossed. And people, imagine college students that had nothing, they're just in there studying. All of a sudden, the door gets kicked down. You guys are rioting, so fuck you! And flipping tables and people getting beat.
So this is just a full-blown riot.
This is
because two dudes didn't like the wine they were drinking.
Exactly. So like I said, it lasted 3 days. Around
people must have been so bored back then, just in general,
that this fight would be what it would kick off.
Well, why not? Because today it would start and they'd be like, "Oh shit, I want to get home. There's a Netflix special on," or
you might have the fight start in the bar, but there's no way that fight's going to go from the bar into the street.
Well, no, and it's not lasting 3 days.
No, and at the very least, at least some police would come in
and be like, "Okay, and you're arrested, and you're arrested, and you're arrested. Let's go. We're done."
Yep.
Not a 3-day riot.
Three-day right
envelops the whole city.
This is a 3-day riot, and guess what, Johnny? There are casualties.
Oh, good
to
God.
This 3-day riot.
How bad do you think that tavern feels for serving shitty wine?
I hope they improve their quality.
I mean, now you give a 1-star Yelp review. you don't go and kill people.
They upped it to Boone's Farm. That's what they're serving now.
Okay, so if they were serving worse than Boone's Farm, I don't blame these Oxford kids anymore.
So around 30 townsfolk would actually wind up being killed in this riot.
30?
30. And it gets worse, Johnny, because 63 members of the university are also killed.
Almost 100 people. Were the 2 kids who started it dead?
It does not say.
Because if those 2 survived, holy shit.
What the hell? Assholes, right? But this isn't the first incident of Oxfordian students engaging in brawls with townsfolk.
Surely it won't be the last.
And it wasn't. 12 of the 29 coroners' courts, so basically murder courts, that were held in Oxford between 1297 and 1322, concerned murders that were conducted by the students of Oxford. Which is also mind-blowing. I think now of Oxford University as being rich elite assholes.
Right.
Well, okay, so I guess
I don't see why you're not drawing this parallel.
I don't know why. All right, never mind then.
So you're confused because you thought Oxford was just full of a bunch of rich white kids who thought they could get away with whatever they wanted
and not murder people. But okay, I guess it makes sense. It makes sense. Huh. All right. So keep in mind, 12 of 29 of those courts held in those years were totally due to Oxford students, often people. So another thing, the next a little bit better note here in history, we do have for the second thing, the first secret successful detection of planes via radio signal happens on February 13th, 1935. So early radar.
Okay.
So good. This is better. At least we're not in a drunken riot.
That's a discovery. It's an advancement in technology. Yep. A leap forward.
So Robert Watson Watt, who's a Scottish physicist and radar pioneer, was asked to investigate if the Germans could have developed a death ray using radio waves in 1934. So at this point, Hitler's in power. He's a little... and he's claiming that he has all these secret weapons, in addition to all the other stupid shit he's doing. So, head English Parliament was asking Robert Watson Watt if it was even remotely possible to have said death ray using radio waves.
Well, did he have it?
Well, no, but they did offer £1,000 to anyone who could kill a sheep with a radio wave at 100 yards.
I could kill a sheep with a radio. Does that count?
It's got to be the wave, Johnny. It's got to be. You can't just beat a sheep over the head with a radio. No. So Watson Watt almost immediately concludes that there is no way, no, you can't, not possible to kill anybody with a radio wave.
Yeah. But
At
you
that
can
time.
you can provide entertainment over a broad spectrum
You-
and if you want to.
You very much can. But what he did discover is that you could use radio waves to detect objects in water and air,
Yeah.
bounce that wave off
Right.
and see how long it takes to come back. If it comes back, something's there. Fun stuff. So on February 13th, 1935, in front of a secret Air Ministry committee, he does demonstrate a practical radio system for detecting aircraft. And shortly before World War II, England would take this technology and create a radar network known as Chain Home, which would successfully alert the British Royal Air Force of any pending German bomber attacks. So during the Battle of Britain, this is why the Germans lost, because the British were easily able to determine where, when, and how the Germans were coming in,
And so this
and
led
instantly
into
send out the Royal Air Force to counteract them.
Well, and also for the citizens, this was probably important because then that allowed them to set off their air raids and get everybody into their shelters and
Bunkers, and
so
I
they're
mean, your
not
property's
losing-
damaged, but loss
right,
of life
but
is
you're
less.
not losing life.
Yeah, exactly. So our last thing in history, a little bit less good or fun, is Nixon will install secret taping system in the White House on February 14th-ish, 1971. So in the second week of February 1971.
Perfectly legally, though, right? Because he's not a crook.
Well, actually, it is legal to have said recording devices.
There you
In fact,
go. Perfect.
he's not even the first one to do this, but we'll get into it. So the second week of February 1971, Nixon installs this recording system in the Oval Office specifically in order to capture phone calls and conversations in the office through hidden microphones. He used a series of TC-800B open reel tape recorders, one attached to secret microphones in the room, one attached to the phone itself.
I don't know why. I know this is just like this stupid millennial thing I have in my head. I always forget that when people used to record audio or anything, they had actual physical tapes.
Yeah, this is
and
real,
not just like hard drives.
and
or
these
like
aren't. This is an open reel-to-reel player. I found a picture of this. It's not small.
Well, no.
So how the hell he
because,
hid this, I don't know.
I mean,
but
in a
it's not
wall,
small.
probably,
Oh, it
or
had
a
to be.
drawer, like because it's not, and you have to have enough tape to record anything valuable. Otherwise, you get like 3 minutes.
You're constantly like redoing these reels. The system would then be expanded into other rooms of the White House and including Camp David, which is the presidential retreat. So basically the house that the president can go to that's not the White House.
Yeah.
So we know that the system was shut off on July 18th, 1973, 2 days after it became public knowledge when it was mentioned during a Senate Watergate committee hearing, and Nixon refused to give up the tapes. So this is where the illegal part comes.
Yeah.
Or I am not a crook.
Right.
So him recording conversations in the White House, perfectly fine.
Him keeping that? And not
When it
turning the
becomes
tapes
known
over?
that he's recording and they want to listen to said audio because he's under investigation of, breaking into the DNC, and him saying, "Nah, I'm not going to give you the tapes."
Right.
That's
the problem.
That's when you're subpoenaed to give the tapes and you don't give the tapes. That's the problem.
And he's like, but you didn't even know about the tapes. They were secret tapes.
Well, they were until somebody opened up their damn mouth. Nixon is not the first president to secretly make recordings in the White House. FDR actually gets that nod, and he starts it in 1940.
Yeah.
So the Democrats were first to record secretly in the White House. So on August 19th, 2013, the Nixon Library and the National Archives actually released the final 340 hours of the tapes that covered the period from April 9th through July 12th, 1973.
Oh, but that's a great listen.
Probably not. I cannot imagine it is. 340 hours of that.
Could you imagine? Somebody has to sit through and listen to that.
And the fact that the Nixon Library and the National Archives released it, there's nothing important on it.
I mean, even at like 2 times speed, that's 150 hours. And that's This Week in History.